In Abbotsford, BC and Sumas, Washington, residents once again picking up the pieces after a major flood. These two neighboring communities, divided by the Canada-U.S. border, are scarred by the same floodwaters.
There's an invisible line, but you guys are still our neighbors. And it's a mirror image of what's happening here. It's just right across the border. And it's just heartbreaking.
It was full of mud and yuck. It was horrible. I don't want to go through watching like a river coming right straight at my house to flood it all over again. I just can't do it.
And the source of these destructive floods has been right here in the United States. This is the Nooksack River in Abbotsford, Washington. After heavy rainfall, water has overtopped the banks and eventually spills over into Abbotsford, about 20 kilometers north of here. Now, officials say to prevent future flooding here is a complex cross-border challenge that needs far more urgent action.
Well, you might be looking at the last mayor of Sumas. Does that answer that question? Because people, they don't want to keep going through this. We need action, and we need action now. Not yesterday, we need it now.
One solution he's calling for is another levee at this critical spot.
What you're looking at is what they call the flow split or the overflow, and this is where the water comes crosses it here and heads north. And then, as you can see, there's no protection. There's a row of trees, but that's it. It's got to be corrected one way or another.
The water overflowing from here has meant catastrophic losses. This Whatcom County official says building a barrier simply pushes the problem downstream to American cities and would affect more people.
Once that water is stopped there, unless we fix the downstream, right, then we have not really solved the problem. We kick the can down the road.
Satpal Singh is a dual American and Canadian citizen who once lived in Abbotsford as well. But respectfully, don't you think this is also causing so much damage to Canadians, to people in Sumas who say that if this keeps happening, there might not be a Sumas anymore? What do you say to that?
This is a very serious question for us. And we, as a county, we need to protect our citizens, right? And there was another thing that maybe, the Americans don't care and they just designed it so way that let water go to Abbotsford. We don't care. No, water, we care. We really care.
So what I'm kind of taking away from this is that there is no one solution for that spot right now.
No,
there isn't.
There's no one solution.
But that's not to say other options aren't on the table. For example, Singh says work is ongoing to understand how dikes can be set back, strengthened, and how the river can be widened in key areas. This could help lower water levels rather than force the river to rise higher and faster. But experts and officials acknowledge it's important to consider how sensitive these river ecosystems are, that nature too has its own extraordinary force. Another part in question is the river's infill. The Nooksack River carries an incredible amount of sediment, coming from a mix of sources, like this giant volcano, Mount Baker, eroding river banks, and glacial deposits. Sumas's mayor says decades of infill has decreased the river's capacity by about 35%.
I'm kind of hoping that they remove some of the infill, but it has to be within agreement.
Singh says one option is to remove higher, more critical levels of sediment and gravel when water levels are low.
I think it has to be surgical. It has to be determined.
He says dredging parts of this river would mean major challenges, disrupting ecosystems, salmon. It would be repetitive and expensive. Now, despite complex hurdles for funding and permits here, officials on both sides of the border stress the work for solutions is ongoing and collaborative.
One of the key solutions is obviously the flow split at Abbotsford and having a discussion with the Americans on what that looks like. But the other key solution for us on this side of the border is to move that water through faster.
One key solution in Abbotsford could be a new pump on the Sumas River. When water overflows from the U.S., the Nooksack, it eventually flows into the Sumas River system. The Sumas River needs to be able to take water and drain it into the Fraser River. Now, during major storms, if the Fraser River is already high, floodgates in Abbotsford are closed to prevent that water from flowing back into the low-lying prairie. That means breaching waters can't escape quickly. A new pump would ensure water is moved into the Fraser River even when the floodgates are closed and help drain the floodwater faster. It won't solve the flood problem entirely, but it will speed up getting rid of floodwaters when they arrive. Other options include strengthening existing dikes, constructing new ones, creating storage spaces to temporarily store those floodwaters, and new floodways to move the water. But
until we have a commitment on funding, it's very challenging to design what that looks like and where exactly it would be located.
As the threat of border breaching waters continues, this river remains a shared riddle for the U.S. and Canada, a winding challenge to protect communities and respect nature's restless force. Baneet Braich, CBC News, Sumas, Washington.